But there was another listener. Outside the walls of Heorot, in the dim and dark, there stalked an enemy from hell itself, the monster Grendel. Have a look at him. There he is. Horrible looking monster. Sworn enemy of God and men alike, a beast born of evil and shame. He heard that wondrous story of God's creation, and because it was good, it was hateful to his ears. He heard the sweet music of the harp, and afterwards the joyous laughter echoing through the hall as the mead horn was passed around. Nothing had ever sounded so enraged in this beast as night after night he had to listen to all this happiness and harmony. It was more than his evil heart could hear. That night Grendel struck was the darkest night of all. He waited until Hrothgar had gone to his bed, until only the lords who nightly guarded Heorot was left. They were fast asleep when he pounced. He was upon them so suddenly and with such violence and fury that none could escape the terrible slaughter. 30 lords he murdered in his bloodlust, as savage and swift as his death-dealing as a maddened fox in a chicken hut. He left not one of them alive, but carried them off to his lair to feast on their blooded corpses at his leisure. Only when day broke did the warriors discover the dreadful evidence of the Holocaust at Heorot. Gone now were the laughter and the music. He sat silent in his grief and despair. His warriors too mourned and lamented the loss of their friends and their brothers in arms. All were stunned at the merciless cruelty of this fatal fiend of the darkness. But the horrors were not yet over, for the next night Grendel came again, stalking over the foggy moors and down through the forest towards Heorot. The warriors had barricaded themselves in this time and believed that they must be safe. They could not have known that against this hellish monster all such defences could be useless. In a frenzy of hate, Grendel burst in and slaughtered everyone that he found there, gorging himself at will. He spared no one. From that night on, no one, not even the king, dared sleep again in Heorot, and so the great mead hall stood empty and stayed empty. Grendel the monster now ruled in Denmark, a rule of the terror that haunted all the people, wherever they lived, men, women, and children alike. For 12 long winters, Grendel warred unceasingly upon the Danes, picking his blood victims at random, the innocent and the sick too, children and newborn babies. He was utterly without mercy. Again and again he came to his killing ground, always unseen in the black of the night. There was no plan that the council thanes devised could protect them from his fury, no prayers to the Almighty, no sacrifices to ancient heathen gods. Everywhere he struck, any farmland, any cottage, anywhere and everywhere, nothing would put an end to the endless terror raids. A great and terrible grief darkened the land, banishing all happiness, all hope. Even the noble kings sat sunk in sorrow. Deep in his despair, the Danish king could see no reprieve from the hideous nightmare visited so often upon his people by this fearsome monster. By now, the story of this dreadful tragedy, of the nightly sufferings that the people were enduring, had spread far and wide. They had heard about it across the water of the land of the Geats. For such for such a long time, faithful allies of the Danish kingdom. But only one of them, the greatest and the bravest of them all, Beowulf he was called, decided this evil beast of the night must be punished for all his wrongdoing, and that he must be cleaned of his wickedness, and the king and his people would be saved at last, even if he had to give his own life to achieve it.